almost 10 years ago, I made a decision to leave what I called the conventional side of the supplement industry. Mm-hmm. And that's because I just could not, without a full commitment, be involved with things from a whole food standpoint. So we made a decision to sell an interest in another company and start Touchstone Essentials. And we started Touchstone back in 2012, but really it was a lifetime in the making, right? Developing sources and relationships with co-ops and other food suppliers such as broccoli, kale, cabbage, blueberries, raspberries, apples, all these things that make up our products, and establishing manufacturing practices where we essentially can use low to no heat environments to dehydrate the fruits and vegetables. So really all you wind up missing is the water, the sugar, and the fibrous material. And what you're left with is the real essence of, say, the broccoli or the kale or the seaweed or the mushroom, whatever that you're using for that particular supplement and supplement recipe. And we've worked hard to make sure that they're done at low temperatures so that all those delicate micronutrients remain in place, as well as the enzymes. And so when you look at the line, let's take, for example, our super green juice. 44 different fruits and vegetables, right, that a person can use for just a couple of dollars a day. If they go out and try to buy and source that and chop and prep and cook and clean up, they're going to spend $8 to $10 for that smoothie or that juice, and we can provide that same kind of environment. Now, look, if you know how to do it all and you got an organic garden at your house, I praise you for doing that, and I'm glad you're making that type of effort. But for most people in the modern world, they need something that can be conveniently delivered to them. And so that's part of, right, is to take these good ideas we know about and then conveniently package them for people.
I'm Paul, speaking for Free Range with Gail of Gaia. Please join Gail as she welcomes Eddie Stone to today's program. Now, most supplements you can get nowadays more resemble fast food than a valuable addition to your diet, with the exception of Touchstone Essentials, and Eddie Stone's going to tell you all about it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. And I have with me today a man who started a wonderful company called Touchstone, and it has all organic products. It's one of the companies I decided to partner with. Because of that, I will only partner with companies that provide the best products out there. And so, Eddie, tell us about your company, how you got started, how long you've been in business, and then we'll have to bring up your flagship product, which I, by the way, listening audience, I tried a number of years ago before I ever even thought of carrying any products at all. So anyway, go on. Please tell us about yourself, your company, and what you stand for.
I'm happy to, Gail, and thank you for the chance to be on the show. It's a pleasure to talk with both you and your audience. And so I'm 57 years old, and really for my working life, I've been involved in the nutritional industry. I've been involved in supplements, really 30 some years. And it's one of those things that it's not necessarily what I went to school for, but it's what sort of pulled me in, right? Something that went from being an avocation or a vocation to something that, was deep within me. And it really starts with sort of two issues. One, my mom had some health struggles, and I won't, necessarily bore the audience with all the details, but ultimately we learned that she had implants put in when she was younger, and her body was having a toxic reaction to the implants, right? And she's not alone in people that really dealt with those issues, particularly in the 1980s. And what was interesting about it was, after it was all said and done and we learned about it, it seemed so obvious that that was the problem. But we went several years trying to work with the medical community to figure out what was wrong. And they just couldn't figure it out, right? I mean, my mom's literally almost kind of wasting away in front of us, and no one can help us put a finger on what the trouble is. And it wasn't until we're actually referred to a doctor, and it's one of these situations, right? We were referred to this doctor, and the person referring us said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a guy's name, but I want you to know he's kind of a quack." we were so desperate for answers. We're like, can we have his name and number, right? I mean, that's where we were on this journey.
That's a shame, because there's a lot of people that they get labeled that way to discredit them because of the industry, but we won't go there. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't disagree with you, right? I think he was wrongly labeled in that regard. And he was just basically what he was doing was working with IV chelation therapy. So he was detoxifying people. Now, in hindsight, his approach was probably a little too aggressive, but nonetheless, it turned out to be a real godsend for my mother. She responded within a couple of weeks of very serious therapy, expensive and, frankly, a little bit dangerous, but she responded. Ultimately, the implants were taken out. And so she's in good health today and vibrant and in her 70s. And so the story has a good ending. And at the same time, I found my own health sort of suffering from this modern lifestyle, right? When I was in school, in college, I did some triathlons. I was pretty athletic, right? I had sort of these ideas about, maintaining my health and how I approach things. But, you get into the working world in your 20s, you start a family, you do all these things. And like a lot of people, right, you don't spend a lot of time nurturing the health habits like you once did. And so I found myself with high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, headed down a path of dealing with type 2 diabetes. And so it was really kind of the wake up call of working with my mom and realizing the role of toxins and environmental concerns on your health, that I started to examine my own self and what I was doing, and was really drawn to the nutrition industry. And
you can't help but be drawn to the nutrition industry. Unfortunately, it doesn't receive nearly the attention that it should from the medical industry. That's because they're not taught in it. So that's a wonderful story, Eddie. Go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no. And I agree with you. And it's funny, the origins of our medical community are let food be thy medicine, right? And so we don't necessarily put enough time and attention on food. And we're not here to lecture people about their food, but clearly most people understand the food they're putting in their body, it has an impact, right? And if it's one of those old computer sayings, garbage in, garbage out. That's kind of what happens with food. And
yes,
so
it does.
It does. And so I believe deeply, and just to let the audience know and be completely transparent, I believe deeply in the role of supplements. I believe supplements can bridge the gap between where people are with their nutritional habits and where they want to be. However, that being said, most supplements are manufactured almost like we think of fast food. It's sort of symbolic of food, but it is not really
exactly.
food.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is so true. We do need supplements. I do believe that myself as a nutritionist, and I say that because of our soil, the toxins in our environment, and the things that we need in the actual and the GMO foods. That's a whole nother issue. And that's why I think organic is so important. Many of these problems are the result of those kinds of things, which makes us benefit from certain supplements. But again, they must be the right kind of supplements. And so go ahead and go on.
Yeah, that's right. And so I started my career in my mid-20s in the supplement industry. But one of the things I quickly found out was what I sort of romanticized about how supplements were made. Let's take, for example, something like vitamin C, right? I sort of had this envision that when we're taking a vitamin C supplement, somehow it's the offshoot of a orange or a lemon or other food sources. That's not true.
I was even enlightened about that one day. The manufacturing process and the source is absolutely critical. We just don't know. It could be a GMO from a E. coli or something of that nature.
It absolutely could be. And here's the challenge. If most people were to look at, say, a vitamin C supplement in their kitchen cabinet, or even, let's say, a multivitamin that has vitamin C listed on the label, it'll probably say in the parentheses next to it, ascorbic acid. Well, ascorbic acid is one piece of an 8-part compound that makes up vitamin C. So quite literally, for your body to use that, it's got to draw on those other constituents that are generally found in the collagen of the blood vessel walls or other places to make that complete source. And so one of the reasons why something like vitamin C is inefficient, and someone says, well, you need to take 5,000 milligrams or these crazy numbers, is because as it goes through your body, the inefficiency is so great that it just doesn't replace food.
It's missing what some refer to as the entourage effect.
That's exactly right. And that's a great term for it. Really, and that's what creates the life force, right? Micronutrients are these building blocks for your body to live and thrive, repair tissue, make muscles, all these things that are crucial. So for most people, if they really sort of like Wizard of Oz, right, looked behind the curtain at where these sources are found and how they're made, they would be disturbed. And that was true for me. And so eventually I found myself, while maintaining an interest in supplements, the kind of supplements and the sourcing became critical, because as it stands today, I think, and I don't mean this offensively to anybody, but I think probably 99% of supplements out there aren't worth it. I don't care how expensive they are.
They're very expensive, and they do very little to actually help you. And I see the same problem in the medical profession as in the nutritional profession, in terms of not knowing the manufacturing process, where it is sourced from, how it is, put together, and how it is presented. And then we also have the issue of cost. So all those factors come in, and it's nice to be affiliated with a company that knows and cares about those things.
Well, I appreciate that. And so I'll pull the story forward, right? So almost 10 years ago, I made a decision to leave what I called the conventional side of the supplement industry. Mm-hmm. And that's because I just could not, without a full commitment, be involved with things from a whole food standpoint. So we made a decision to sell an interest in another company and start Touchstone Essentials. And we started Touchstone back in 2012, but really it was a lifetime in the making, right? Developing sources and relationships with co-ops and other food suppliers, such as broccoli, kale, cabbage, blueberries, raspberries, apples, all these things that make up our products, and establishing manufacturing practices where we essentially can use low to no heat environments to dehydrate the fruits and vegetables. So really all you wind up missing is the water, the sugar, and the fibrous material. And what you're left with is the real essence of, say, the broccoli or the kale or the seaweed or the mushroom, whatever that you're using for that particular supplement and supplement recipe. And we've worked hard to make sure that they're done at low temperature so that all those delicate nutrients remain in place, as well as the enzymes. And so when you look at the line, let's take, for example, our super green juice. 44 different fruits and vegetables, right, that a person can use for just a couple of dollars a day. If they go out and try to buy and source that and chop and prep and cook and clean up, they're going to spend $8 to $10 for that smoothie or that juice, and we can provide that same kind of environment. Now, look, if you know how to do it all and you got an organic garden at your house, I praise you for doing that, and I'm glad you're making that type of effort. But for most people in the modern world, they need something that can be conveniently delivered to them. And so that's part of, right, is to take these good ideas we know about and then conveniently package them for people.
That makes so much sense. And that's wonderful. Like, I would love to have an organic garden of my own, but I live in an apartment on the second floor. So what am I going to do? Carry the organic dirt up there? I mean, I've seen tower gardens and so on, and that may be a possibility at some point in time. But realistically speaking, I need good sources to be able to include everything in my diet that I want to. And I even, as far as organic food goes, I prefer the local farmers market, if at all possible. But now, besides your green drink product, and I think green is extremely important because I always emphasize, or will continue to emphasize to people, alkalinity is critical nowadays.
Yep.
Keeping your body as alkaline as possible. Not only is that an environment that provides much more electrons and reduces oxidation, it's just more healthy, generally speaking. Pathogenic microbes just do not do as well in that type of environment. So that's very important. So your flagship product, I'd like to talk about that a little bit, because I do have one and I do really appreciate this. And one of the things I appreciate about it is that it's squirt in the mouth and you're done. And maybe a couple times a day, whatever. But it's not a supplement. I mean, after a while, supplements get to be burdensome to take, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes I like the meal replacement drinks or the spray rather than a supplement. I mean, I've just found for myself anyway, everybody's different, but for myself, I've just find that I'll take supplements for a while and then I'll kind of drop off for a while because I'm kind of bored with taking them or what have you. And then that's a time when I appreciate the liquid versions that are available, which you can either drink, spray, or what have you. And not to mention eating, but we do live in a very busy society that requires you to be able to have something quickly and on the run and so on. So anyway, let's talk about your zeolite product and why you picked it and how it's sourced and all that good stuff.
I'm happy to. And to give people some context, here's sort of how we see things, right? We see that Pure Body Extra as the tip of the arrow. It is the flagship, as you rightly described, because we live in a world where modern living, right? We don't have a whole lot of time, but with modern living also comes modern toxins, right? There's some 100,000 chemicals used globally in the manufacturing of consumer goods, all the way from containers your food comes in to the products you're buying to wear, or things.
It's endless. It's truly endless.
It's endless. And 99% of those have never had any type of research on either short-term or long-term impact on the human body, right? So we're really living in this experimental situation. And what we know is that toxins, particularly if we drill down to, say, heavy metals, cadmium, lead, mercury, things of this kind, certain volatile organics such as PFASs and forever chemicals that you'd find in things like Teflon and other places, those are ingredients that are disruptive to the hormonal system. They can accelerate aging. They can damage DNA, making us more vulnerable to all types of degenerative diseases. And so it's a very real challenge in the modern world. And while the body does have systems to aid and help with detoxification, not the kind of body burden that we face in a modern world, right? It's just more than the body biologically was designed to handle. And so I was first introduced to zeolites back in 2005. And for those that don't know what they are, zeolites are, they can be synthetic. We don't work with anything synthetic for a lot of reasons, principally because the FDA GRAS status safety research that's out there regarding zeolites all came from studying naturally mined zeolites. And so we work only exclusively with naturally mined zeolites. The zeolite type we work with is called clinoptilolite. And what makes it unique for us and as a product to consume is that as this mineral, which forms when playa lakes collide with salt water, right? Volcanic lava ash collide with salt water, these things grow. They have a natural cage structure. And because of the way they're bound, the way that the carbon binding of the molecule is, it maintains a negative charge. You might say, well, okay, why does that matter? Because things like cadmium, lead, mercury, some of these volatile organics, they all have positive charges. And so literally, when a zeolite comes into proximity with one of those positively charged heavy metals, they will bind or snap together. When this takes place, the zeolite's going to stay bound, right? Because it's called a preferential ion exchange. And for us as human beings, what's attractive about that is zeolites are not essential minerals. There's no receptor sites for them in the body. So when you spray that into your mouth, you're literally getting thousands of little zeolite particulates at a nano size. Those particulates can go anywhere in your body water goes because they're trapped inside a water cluster. So quite literally.
And we're 80% water.
Yeah, that's right. And you're made up of 100 plus trillion cells, right? And so it's going to get into the cells and these heavy metals that you don't want in there that we know can be disruptive and actually make you more vulnerable to disease. It's going to bind, and assuming normal renal function, process outside of the body in about a 4 to 6 hour period of time. And so it's sort of ideal to have a systemic source of detoxification. And here's the thing, you and I aren't getting away from the toxicity, right? It's just around us. We can't live in the bubble. I don't know if you remember the old John Travolta Boy in the Bubble movie of the 70s, right? That's not realistic. We don't live in a bubble.
Yes, it's not at all.
No.
Some people were trying to bring that back, but we won't go there.
And if they can figure it out, great. But I don't think that's possible, right? So in this situation, it's a tool for you to use to help you manage that toxic load day in and day out. There's no question that toxins can impact your body in a negative way. Your body does have support systems to get rid of toxins, but I believe there's just too much out there, right? And so this is an aid to support your body's own ability to naturally detox. And most people that use these products will notice pretty quickly that they've got a little easier time sleeping. For a lot of people, you mentioned alkalinity. It does help to alkalize the gut. They're going to be digesting better. Everything comes with obviously a money back guarantee. So if they're not having the experience they were looking for, it's a money back guarantee. But we have had on a global scale just a tremendous response to the product. It's what leads the way for us because frankly, toxins are just a problem, and there's just no way to get away from them.
They're a serious problem, very serious problem. And it's a problem that the entire medical profession needs to take a closer look at in terms of the health problems that people have. And one of the things, it's kind of simplistic, but it's on the same order. One of the things that I try to emphasize to people is that it's like trying to get your dishes clean in dirty dishwater. You know,
example.
You have to keep adding more and more soap to do what you could do if you just started with clean, fresh water. And since our bodies are not clean and fresh like we would like them to be, because we've been exposed to so many things in our food, in our air, in our water, that anytime that we come across something that's an effective way of getting rid of those pollutants, such as the zeolite. I know there's a few other out there. You can use cilantro, you can use spirulina, some of these other things, but I think this is one of the best because of the type that it, you know, the electron issue is big because we are over exposed to the positive, bad environmental toxins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so for us, it's, hey, you're using the zeolite to take the bad stuff out. And then you use things like greens drinks to put the good stuff back in. Our other category is a line of CBD products to help bring balance because we know it helps to balance the central nervous system, digestive system, respiratory system, and other things. But we believe people need tools to make the most of this life that they have. We want people to think of these products as a springboard to live life to their fullest potential, right? Whatever the health is, you can enjoy at the maximum. That's what we want these products to provide. And you know, what we found globally is a very receptive audience, people like yourself that have a good experience with the products. And so we're quite proud and excited to be able to offer this. And so we're coming up on a 10-year anniversary, and just the way the public reacts to us, it looks like there just continues to be a very strong interest in taking charge of our health, particularly the last past year. And what's going on with the global pandemic, right? People realized, hey, I need to take charge of my health so I'm just not subject to the whims of politics or whatever, right? I want to be in charge of my own health, and that's what we think it's important.
And I think that's absolutely critical. And getting your machine clean is very important.
Yeah.
And because, like I said, it just goes back to that dirty dishwasher. You just keep having to add soap to get it as clean as you would like to, when if you just got fresh water, clean water, you do so much better. So get your body clean, then you can add the good stuff to it, and that'll really make the difference at that point in time.
Absolutely, right. That's our philosophical approach. And so, and we take a holistic approach to this, right? So for example, it isn't just that when you buy the fruits and vegetable products we have that you're buying USDA or organic, it's what that means, right? Not only do we believe it's better nutrition, but it's also lessening the load of toxins going into the atmosphere at the farm and community level, right? So it means that water supply there, that source of soil, that air supply, those individual persons trying to handle and work with those crops are all less burdened by those toxins, right? So it's, for us, it's just trying to take these ideas, right, and take back our health, not just individually, but from a community standpoint also.
Oh, definitely. Now, you must have had to go around and decide what farms or where you would source your materials or products from. That must have took quite a bit of research and doing, I would think.
You know, years in the making, right? Those are not things that you can do overnight, right? And so for me, having had this long history in the nutrition industry, and you meet the right people, you meet the right brokers. And so what we look for when we're buying fruits and vegetables is we're paying attention to the certifications that go with those crops, right? What is the certifying source associated with a given farm or a given co-op group? what are ingredients known for in certain regions. Most all of our products are coming out of pristine areas in Northern California, somewhat in the Pacific Northwest. Every now and then we'll need to go to one location or the other, right, to source the blueberries or whatever happens to be properly in season. We're looking for certain nutritional content, but we keep it really close to the vest, so to speak, so that we know what's going on. We use all kinds of third-party certifications. People will note on our website, there's third-party verification, scientific testing that's done.
That's always important, because I usually tell people that, I always look for independent testing, third-party testing or whatever. But the other thing that I thought was important that your company does too is you don't buy products that are green, or so to speak. They're ripe and they're ready to be processed right at that time. And that's very important too, because even when you go to the store, a lot of these products or foods, actual whole foods, have been sitting there for who knows how long. They weren't picked at the ripe stage, because when they're picked ripe, they're more nutritious.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't think about it, but when you buy something at the grocery store, let's just take tomatoes, for example. That tomato could be anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks removed from the field. It was picked at the perfect time for transportation. It wasn't picked at the perfect time for nutrition, right? We understand
exactly
the grocery system, right? That is what it is. But if you sort of look at that and realize one of the things that a farmer's market, for example, has as an advantage is we're one step closer to the farm.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's why I advocate that myself, but go ahead.
Yeah. My local farmer's market, when it's peach season here, I'm a big fan of peaches, right? We can go there and they'll tell us, some stand will say these were picked on Thursday. Well, it's Saturday, right? That's the kind of thing you want to hear. And so we're able to pick at the peak of nutritional maturity. In most cases, we're processing within a very short period of time. It can be a few hours to a few days, and pretty close to the manufacturing facility. So we're able to keep a tighter rein and tighter controls on the quality, both nutritionally and otherwise, when we take this approach.
That's perfect. Now, it's my understanding that there's been a significant increase in people actually purchasing organic foods.
Yes, there has been. So we're a member of the Organic Trade Association, which is one of the largest trade groups for this industry. And it's nice because we're able to get some statistics. Our purchasing habits right now with organic are so robust as a society or a culture. In most cases, when you go to a grocery store, the difference in conventionally grown fruits and vegetables versus organic or conventionally processed, let's say potato chips versus organic, anywhere from a 1% to 3% difference in cost. And so the cost barrier for most people, if they'll actually look at the nuts and bolts of the number, now your organic is really as effective or cost effective from a pricing standpoint for your family as conventional products.
Well, here's the thing, too. I don't think there's been any recent studies on the conventional products as to their nutritional profile, particularly the GMO products, which I have never been in favor of. And I'm not afraid to say that. So I hope you don't mind me saying that, because I'm organic all the way. And these products were tested years ago when we had more minerals in the soil, for example, before they became genetically modified. So many of the things that we've been told are that it's the same or they're equal or what have you. It just is not true.
Well, and I just think for most of us, we just have no idea of the long-term impact on GMO in our food supply. Maybe we'll find out 100 years from now it's okay, but man, that's a long time to wait for that confirmation. And so
yes, I couldn't agree more, but I can add to that just a little bit, because if you look at the statistics that are provided by Stephanie Seneff, which I may have to have on my show again, of when GMOs were introduced and the level of obesity and type 2 diabetes and other related problems, you will see it just follows the graph. And so, yes, they're significantly impacting the health of people. And it's very adverse in many ways, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And when you buy, for example, a lot of people don't even realize this, but when you buy something like, let's say, our super green juice or our organic super protein, it's USD certified organic. when it says USDA certified organic, that means it cannot have GMO in it, right?
Exactly.
So the line, we're able to have a line here with no GMO products in it whatsoever. And so we're just want to make sure we provide the public the information they need to make those informed decisions.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that I'd like to talk a little bit about before we go too much further is that it's my understanding that I could offer my listeners a good deal on an initial trial with your products. Is that correct?
You got absolutely. Listen, we appreciate the chance to work with you and your team. And so I don't remember if they established it for a week or how long the period is, but you can offer a $50 off coupon to your first series of customers. So if they're a first-time buyer, I think the purchase minimum is $75, but they can use one of our $50 off coupons to make that purchase. And of course, they still have the money back guarantee, right? If they're unhappy, they can still return it. But we want to make the decision to invest in someone's health or at least try it as easy as possible. And so we're happy to supply you with unique codes and coupons that you can use with your team so people can try it. We feel pretty strongly they're going to enjoy the experience and feel better. And so we feel good about the investment.
That's awesome. So I will be putting that in the description of the video when I put it out, that people can get a $50 off coupon. I will, of course, talk to your people and get that ready. And there'll probably be a length of time that's offered, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And I hope people take you up on it. And the more of them, the better, right? We feel very proud and very confident about the experience they'll have with the products.
Awesome. Now, one of the other things that I noticed about your company, which I thought was really cool, and that was that you also care about the packaging in the sense that you use the brown amber bottles. You don't like the styrofoam peanuts kind of thing. You actually use paper when you send. And what are your reasoning for those people that might not know about those things? I do, of course, but I'm going to let you say it.
Yeah. Here's how I look at it. Regardless of how somebody might feel about a term such, say, as global warming, right? Or renewable or green energy, right? Let's just set that aside. You and I, sitting around the kitchen table from a practical standpoint, would probably be able to agree that less pollutants in the environment's better.
Yes.
Right? And so
definitely.
Everything we can do to slow the rate of environmental pollutants, toxins getting into the atmosphere, the better. And so, for example, we don't use petroleum-based styrofoam, peanuts, or anything of that kind. In fact, the wrapping that you find on the amber glass bottles, which the bottles can be recycled, you can recycle the wrapping, but you can also compost it in your garden, right? And so we're trying to do everything we can to minimize that footprint we have in the community in that regard, trying to leave the place a little less polluted than we found it, right, with our practices. And of course, it's an ongoing exercise for us that we continue to work hard on, but we believe the little things we can do add up to large things over time, along with our customers, to just less the debris and the waste and the other things that's often found with consumer goods.
Exactly. And those darn plastics, they have endocrine disruptors that affect people. And if I might say this, I know we're not into this particular product, but if we could get that paper made from hemp and even clothing made from hemp, we would reduce pollutants substantially.
We believe deeply in the role that hemp fibers can play, not only in the paper, but also in the manufacturing of corrugated boxes and materials. And so we believe that industry will mature enough over the next few years that we can switch some of our wood-based products to hemp fibers. That's a goal of ours. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I was in Colorado having a meeting with a group of people working on just that very issue, because we do believe that hemp fibers can help us do a lot to just reduce the burden and the load placed on the forestry industry.
Yes, and that's awesome that you're doing that. And the same thing holds true. I found out, I did a show on hemp many years ago, and in the clothing industry, you would be amazed the difference between hemp and cotton in terms of the chemicals that have to be used in order to process it. And I guess what happened is the cotton gin came out before the ability to deal with the hemp plant. I don't know what they call that particular one, but that was what happened, and is how it took that was only part of, because there were some other people that came in to play as well, but we won't go into that. But I think that's another fascinating area that we haven't really been able to move into due to certain restrictions that were applied for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
The good news is that a lot of these laws over the last couple of years have changed. And so we're now able to make a distinction between hemp and marijuana in the eyes of regulators. And so the research and the development of the type of plants to focus on the growing of hemp fibers, that research now can be done without confusing it with research into marijuana.
Cannabis. That's why I just like cannabis. They actually came up with that word marijuana in order to discredit the entire cannabis industry. Was wrong. And they've even found that some of the things that they tried to demonize about cannabis, even the THC, actually has health benefits that are yet to be more fully discovered in terms of eradicating certain problems like the C word problem. But we won't go into that either, because we want this to be able to go up there on YouTube. So I think that many of the industries are moving in the right direction from an ecological, from a health and nutritional standpoint. And I actually kind of moved out of the whole nutrition era for a while, because I couldn't practice in the way that I really wanted to without having possible repercussions, because there are alternative ideas and concepts out there that weren't considered acceptable. Just like, doctors can only talk about cut, poison, or burn with certain issues. And so all of that is starting to change. I'm so happy to see it change. And it's going to be for the benefit of humanity and the planet.
Oh, I agree. The more we know, the better we're equipped to make the decisions we need to make sure we're as healthy as possible and frankly do the best thing we can with the planet that we have.
Well, I thank you so much for the products that you make, for the integrity that you have about those products and the things that you bring forward. And I look forward to sharing this with my listeners and letting them know, too, that they can get a coupon. And I will contact your office soon after we finish that, so I can include it on the description within the video that we put up. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the listening audience?
Well, just this, and I try to leave people with this every time I get a chance to speak. Take your health seriously. You got one body, and you want that body to serve you for a long time, and I promise the way you treat it's going to make a difference, not just today, but tomorrow. And so do the best you can, and that's all we can ever ask, is do the best to treat your body the right way.
Yes, you're investing in your health is your greatest wealth. Certainly,
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Can't do much when you don't feel good.
No, you cannot.
So thank you so much, Eddie. I'm proud to be a part and affiliated with your company. And who knows, maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
This program is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease and should not be considered medical advice. The statements herein have not been evaluated by the FDA. The opinions expressed are those of the guests and not necessarily the opinions of Free Range, its producers, principals, or staff. Viewers are directed to consult professional sources before acting on any information presented here.